Hello and welcome to FPL Have a Beer, where I invite you to have a beer with me or a suitable non-alcoholic beverage and chat FPL. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. So this is a series of interviews I'm doing called the Creator Meet the Content Creator video series, where I ask one of our lovely community of FPL content creators to come on, talk in general about their experiences of content creation, their thoughts on FPL and mental health, which is kind of a theme of the channel, and then we just finish by having like a general chat on FPL. And today I'm delighted to be joined by one of the huge YouTube content creators, FPL Mate, aka Dan, who I believe, tell me if I'm wrong with this, any of this, Dan, has been creating content for about 4 years, 214,000 subscribers,
Yeah,
and also recently started a new podcast called Stick to Football. Is that
stick
something?
to FPL.
Stick to FPL. Sorry, Stick to Football. Something else, isn't it?
Aside from that, you're spot on. Yeah, everything. Bang on.
Dan, thank you so much for coming on, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah. I haven't got a beer today, unfortunately, but I have got a blackcurrant squash today, which is a bit of a trademark of my
Okay.
YouTube videos and streams. We always have a nice, refreshing squash to
Maybe for the viewers,
soothe ourselves.
maybe the viewers can pretend there's a vodka in there just to keep to the
Mm,
theme of the channel or something.
vodka and squash. I don't know about that one.
No, perhaps not
Is
the
that
nicest.
nice?
So, Dan, if I could start off just by asking, I mean, I'm sure everyone who's watching this will know who you are, but if you could just maybe start by saying who you are, where you grew up, who you support, first memories of football, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dan. I grew up in the Cambridge area of England, and first memories of football were, I suppose, that classic Arsenal team of the early noughties. And I don't know if you remember. I don't know if they even still make them. The little bobblehead toys. They're called
I
Power
do.
Pods.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. And one of my friends at school gifted me a Thierry Henry
All right.
Power Pod. Yeah, and I thought, well, and it
They were
looked exactly
they were
like my
called
dad.
power pods.
Power Pods, Micro Stars. I think they went
Yeah,
by a
I
couple of
remember
different
the
names.
things you mean. They look, yeah.
Yeah, and the little Thierry Henry looks like exactly like my dad, and he was obviously wearing an Arsenal shirt. So I thought, oh yeah, that's really cool. I suppose I'm an Arsenal fan now. Called him Henry because, of course, when you're a kid, these French names are all a bit obscure. But
I
yeah,
think quite a
supported.
few of the BBC commentators called him Henry for a few years
Did they?
before. Well, the less accustomed to foreign pronunciation ones,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sure did it.
Yeah, also called you remember Perez, called him Pyres, because how else would you say that when you're like 8 years old?
So did your dad actually look like Thierry Henry then? Because
I bet, yeah.
he was always like one of the pin-up boys. Do you remember Vava Voom and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, oh, yeah.
I'd say he looks a cross between Thierry Henry and Rivaldo. People always used to tell him he looked like Rivaldo.
Okay, I'm not gay, but I don't. Rivaldo doesn't strike me as the most stunning man, so maybe that's where your dad loses it a bit on the looks front.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, if you're like halfway towards Thierry Henry, I mean, that's not a bad start, is
You're
it?
not doing bad. You're not doing, and you support Arsenal, am I right? Am I remembering that right?
That's right. Yeah, all
Oh yes,
down
sorry.
back to that Thierry Henry toy.
So one of your early seasons would have been the unbeatable.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I think the first year I really got into football was probably around 2002, and that's when Arsenal, I think they won. They might have won the double that year, actually, FA Cup and Premier League double.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a World Cup year as well, which like any World Cup is a great baptism for anyone getting into football, whether you're a child, whether you're new to the sport.
Sure.
World Cup does that to you as well.
So when did you first get into fantasy football, Dan? And any particular early memories that stick out from a fantasy football perspective?
I feel like fantasy football, for as long as I can remember, has always just been there. Just
Really?
something you did. I remember kind of when I was at school, like, you make a league with your mates, you'd create a team in game week 1 and then forget about it in game week 3. And I think that's probably for a lot of people, their earlier experience of FPL is just,
Unfortunately, my school life predates FPL beginning.
oh, fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, that was me. And then I guess over the last 5 years ish, I've been taking it a little bit more seriously, and it certainly seems far more serious as a quasi sport in its own right
Mm.
than ever before.
Yeah, we got people like me writing academic papers on it.
There you go.
You kind of
Can you
know
imagine
then.
that 5, 10 years ago?
No, no, definitely not.
You'd be laughed out the room.
And any specific memory? So how long you been playing for then? Actually,
I
like on
suppose
any level?
probably 10 years.
10 years. I think I'm about the same.
Yeah,
But
but like not to a very high level.
only taking it serious for like 5.
5, 6 years. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I think.
So when you're playing FPL, you've been playing for about 5 years. I guess maybe you have like one season you're really into it. What makes you think I'm gonna make this into FPL content on YouTube, and what inspires that decision?
Well, I've been making YouTube videos for sort of as long as I can remember. Like YouTube is my primary passion. I love it. I've been making, even before YouTube, I was at home making silly little videos on my like family computer. Yeah. And then I'd invite my friends around and show them what I'd made. Probably wasn't very good, but that's before YouTube was a thing. Then YouTube came along and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. I can share my stuff out there. And I think it was probably during COVID. I wasn't really enjoying the stuff I was making on YouTube anymore.
What sort of stuff were you making, mate, before?
A variety. It started off with gaming type videos, and I started doing sort of like internet drama style videos.
Okay.
But which was like fun for a while.
Is that like the commentating on what's going on Twitter beef, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, all the feuds between YouTubers and stuff like that, and covering that. But I kind of found that all quite negative. Yeah, it's quite a negative space, and you're quite critical of other people. When you're saying, "Oh, how dare this person behave in this way," or that kind of stuff. I thought it was quite a negative space. I don't think it was very good for me, and I think I was channeling a lot of my own insecurities and anxieties in that kind of content.
Interesting.
So I thought, all right, COVID. I've got nothing to do. None of us do. Can't go outside. New project needed. What do I like? What do I enjoy doing? I quite enjoy playing FPL. Don't think I'm that good at it, but maybe making content can be an opportunity for me to get more involved in FPL and learn alongside any viewers that I'm fortunate enough to attract. And fairly quickly, I don't know, it went quite well. And suddenly I was able to, start doing it as a full-time job, which is not really something I expected when I started out, because I just make YouTube videos for fun. And that always has been that way.
I was looking at some of your like early video numbers, and you kind of go from like mid-100 in terms of viewers, a couple of thousand. And then I think, was it the start of the 2021 season, your views just seemed to like shoot up to like 50, 60,000 like per video almost.
Out of nowhere. Yeah, it was wholeheartedly unexpected, and I don't know, maybe to a degree undeserved, because I think obviously there's a lot of great FPL managers out there. I'm definitely not one of them, but I hope that my passion and energy and, I don't know, willingness to learn and kind of learn alongside the viewers is maybe what separated me a little bit from other content that was around.
Yeah, I'll probably ask you a little bit about, well, we'll come back to it a little while about getting into it today, because obviously the market's becoming more and more crowded every time, but I'll get onto that a bit. So, I was going to ask you what your early experience of content creation was like. Was fantasy football FPL content creation different than the previous experiences early on?
In a way, yeah, I suppose so. But I think when you know like how to behave in front of a camera, how to make your graphics and edit videos and stuff, it's all very transferable skills. So it was a pretty seamless transition, really.
That's a good place to come in, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got none of those skills.
Hey, but you don't get those skills until you just get stuck in. I didn't have very many FPL skills when I started, but hopefully I've managed to build them over the years. But you've got to start somewhere with anything.
Has it changed over time? I mean, you said you're full time now. I mean, do you mind? I don't want to ask personal, but do you mind if I was asking like what you were doing, or roughly what you were doing as a job beforehand, and when you kind of went, I can leave that and make this full time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I was working for a software company, a company that develops software, doing a lot of the graphics and their kind of video tutorials and that kind of stuff. So I was doing
not a terrible job then. Not like you're. I don't want to say a job that's going to piss people, but it's not like you're stacking
no
at Tesco's. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but I probably would have been slightly better paid if I was. So
really,
yeah. So in that sense, it was I've worked in sort of a lot of local government areas. So obviously the budget is not super high.
Right.
But yeah, that helps when you want to go take a risk and do something crazy like YouTube as a job. It helps to be low paid. It really does.
One of the few times that will probably come out of anyone's
yeah,
mouth.
exactly.
And was there like a point in terms of the channel metrics or number of subscribers or number of viewers where you thought, that's it, I feel confident enough now to throw myself into this full time? Or was it you just decided you had to throw yourself in full time maybe to get to that level? I don't know.
I think, to be like perfectly brutally honest, I think once you see that your YouTube earnings are matching your day job earnings, and you're doing that as sort of a part-time, your YouTube is a part-time gig, I think you have to question, okay, if I put all of my energy into YouTube, could we perhaps take it to the next level? And
that makes sense.
Could this be a longer term, maybe slightly more sustainable job?
Yeah, it's a perfectly logical bottom line way of looking at it. It's probably how I'd look at it as well if I was ever in that position. So what would you say are positives and negatives of being an FPL content creator? Maybe we can start with you can start with the positives.
The positives are that you get to talk about football for a living, and there's not too many people in this country that would turn that down for a job.
No.
Being able to talk about something that you're passionate about is a daily joy, and I do feel very, very fortunate to be in the position that I am in, where I can just chat about FPL because I love FPL. I love making videos.
Can I ask you? I haven't got this one written down, but there must be some times. I mean, I love FPL as well, but there must be some weeks where you just think, I don't know, you've had a bad game week or something else is going on where you just think, I don't want to talk about this today.
Yeah, definitely. Now, of course, you definitely do get those days, but I don't know. It's like I've entered in a different area of consciousness where everything in my life revolves around FPL at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know how to not think about FPL anymore. It's just always an ever-present thought in the brain.
I suppose in a normal job you're going to have off days that you don't want to do it and you've got to force yourself to go in. So I guess it's maybe similar to that to an extent as well. Negatives?
It's you've got to have some thick skin, because obviously FPL, there is obviously skill involved in FPL. We all know, but we also probably most of us acknowledge that there's also quite a lot of luck involved.
A lot of luck, particularly when I'm doing badly.
Yeah. I'm unlucky when I'm doing bad. I'm skillful when I'm doing good. That's the classic trope of FPL, isn't it? But obviously, you can pick the best player in the best fixture, and if luck doesn't go your way on one particular game week, then maybe that player doesn't score very well, and people will be angry at you for suggesting to pick that player, even though logically we might be able to say, yeah, this was a great pick. It was just a good pick, good thought process, bad outcome, blah, blah, blah. If the outcome's bad, for a lot of people, particularly newer players, they might not be able to distinguish the difference between a bad decision and a bad outcome. And they can be sometimes quite upset, quite aggressive. A lot of people play FPL for money, for example. So it really means a lot to them that they're doing well in FPL. And if they've taken a piece of advice that hasn't come to fruition, it can get very, very annoyed and quite aggressive and really, really have a go at FPL content creators, and we see this all the time.
Yeah, this has come up in the first couple of interviews I've done. Does it get easier to deal with that? I mean, you're in your fifth year now doing it. Does it get easier?
I think it depends on your own state of mind to a degree. If you're in a happy, confident place anyway, then it's quite easy to laugh it off. But if you're having a bad day and you open up Twitter or you want to go and reply to some YouTube comments, and the first thing you see is you're an idiot, blah blah blah.
Do you block people or the Twitter equivalent if you?
Yeah. I go crazy on blocks on Twitter. Like there was a time where, there's still a lot of people who say you shouldn't block people. You know, it's weak to block people. You should let people have a free and open voice. It's often that those very same people are the ones who are just getting upset that they can't send abuse to people anymore.
Yeah.
But
so I'm
a big fan of the block button.
Yeah, sorry, I've only been on Twitter for a couple of weeks. Like I set one up for this channel, but they can't DM you unless you follow them. Is that right? So you're not getting lots of messages.
Yeah.
It's just on your wall sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
on your notifications tab.
Yeah, but it's still you're still seeing it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Any other?
And you don't.
Sorry, go on.
So I was just gonna say, but you don't want to miss out on the positive interaction. So it's not like you can say, right, no more comments. I'm not responding to anything anymore, because there's actually a lot of good discussion and good, friendships to be built on Twitter and in the YouTube comments as well. So you can't let a few people spoil it. Block, move on, and hopefully try and continue with some positive interactions with people.
Can I ask you a question? This isn't one I've got written down, but I always wonder this. As someone who is at the level you're at, you must get thousands of comments on every video. Like, do you?
Thousands are maybe a bit much, but
do you actually?
Yeah, hundreds maybe.
I know obviously you can't reply to them all, but do you literally go and read them all, or sometimes you just think, "Fuck it, I'm not gonna bother"?
I would say I read a solid 90%.
Really?
And I try and reply to half at least.
Really?
If I have time. Yeah. It's like kind of at the end of the day, you've got everything you need to do. Just spend half an hour, or if you're on a train journey or something like that, just open your phone, just reply to some comments. I think it's a polite thing to do. If people have made the effort to leave a comment on your stuff, or some people have genuine questions, and if I feel like I can help in any way, I'll always try and do that.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's just if ever I'm on if I'm on a scout video or a hub video, and you look through because I'm guessing they probably get less views and less comments than you, but very rarely do you see things answered on those sort of things. But maybe that's me looking at the wrong thing.
But not everyone likes to reply and engage as much. Some people, if your content there is giving a lot of answers and giving a lot of help, you might feel that you've done your bit already, and no one's obliged to go the extra mile necessarily.
No, I mean, anyone comments on any of these, I'm replying straight away. But I've got like maybe 5 or 6 comments, not like hundreds.
But it's so nice, isn't it, when you receive that comment, particularly when you are starting off. You appreciate it so much, and I think for me the appreciation of that has never really gone away. I still, it brings a smile to my face that someone's made the effort to say hello to me, to whatever. It's lovely.
Yeah, I'm always. I mean, I've only been literally making videos for about 2.5 weeks, but anytime I see, because it comes through on my email that there's a comment, and I've not made a video. This is my first video for about 4 days, which is the longest I've gone. And I think I'm missing the dopamine hit of. It
is a dopamine hit, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is definitely. Yeah, so I said I was going to get her onto this. So, I mean, I don't actually know, because an awful lot of FPL content creators seem to have started 2 years ago, and then the kind of original content creators like Let's Talk FPL, Andy, Scout, Hub, they've been around for like 10 years-ish, haven't they? Was there many people starting around the time you did? Or
no, not really. No, I think I started around the same time as Andy. Let's Talk FPL. His channel started going up.
Yeah,
around the same time as I started, but there wasn't really too many content creators at that time. So I definitely got in at the right moment. If I started now, I'm not sure I'd have the same success, to be honest.
I'll say, because I've been watching for 8 years, there were plenty of content creators around. I just don't think perhaps of the quality of you guys. I'm saying that you don't have to agree with me, but
okay.
At that time, I would say
perhaps there certainly wasn't as much appetite for content.
Yeah.
Back then as there is now.
It's definitely growing season on season. But I think whatever one thing we could definitely say is it's getting more and more difficult every season because there is so much content out there. Any young content creators who maybe have just started up this season, and on like a couple hundred subscribers, or are thinking about doing it, what advice would you give them from your experience?
Well, I would certainly say that, a lot of people say, the content creation space in FPL in this example is there's a lot of content out there already. Where do I fit into this? It's going to be quite hard to break through if I start. It's going to be harder next year, and it's going to be even harder year after that. So just throw yourself in it, learn as you go. You're not going to be perfect straight away. And just keep at it. And every time you make a video, you'll pick a new thing up. You'll notice a new editing setting. You'll figure out how to do something new. You'll improve the way you speak, or eloquate. It's ironic, me trying to use fancy words whilst articulate. Yeah, your words a little bit better with each attempt. So the more you do, the better you'll get. Just do it. Yeah. I think that's the biggest piece of advice in YouTube in general is just get on with it. Like, I didn't care that I not had a great FPL record before starting FPL content. I just did it because it looked like fun, and it was. And if something looks like fun and you're not hurting anyone, just do it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess the fact, like, I've already had a couple of guys on this channel who've only started in the last couple of years when a lot of people were established and are up to like 10,000, approaching 10,000 subscribers. So I certainly think it shows there is still viewers. There still is viewers out there to get, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And YouTube is also pretty cyclical. And, you can say, right now I have one of the bigger FPL channels. In a few years, I might not, and there'll be a new person come along and do a better job. Maybe that person is watching this right now. Like, everyone on YouTube, typically, most people have a shelf life. So just because there's loads of big content creators right now doesn't mean in a few years, some might find a different job or a different passion, and there'll be more space. And if you're already making content, then you're ready to occupy that space.
Yeah.
So,
and as new people come into the game, I guess they're not going to be biased in terms of, I've been following this person for a year. They'll go with the best content creator they see when they start, I guess.
And one more thing, if you happen to have a really good season in FPL, people do not care the quality of your camera, the quality of your microphone, how good your editing is. Just go for it, and you will pick up followers. If you're doing well in FPL, it's a cheat code for growing on YouTube.
I was going to ask you that, but I was going to get onto it with the mental health, because I know you. I'll wait into the mental health, because I know you were up in. You're up like 200 at one point, weren't you, in one of the seasons?
Yes.
But I'll get to that with the mental health, because I wanted to ask that about the pressure of that. But two slightly lighter questions before we go on to the mental health stuff. How did you come up with the channel name, FPL Mate? It's a very good. It's a good name, because you often won what you won with FPL. Like, I don't really have many mates who play FPL. Is a mate to talk about it with.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, because I never wanted to frame myself as an expert, and I still don't. I wanted to just do something where I'm just your mate. We hang out. We talk about FPL. Sometimes we do well, sometimes we do bad. We laugh about the things that go wrong, and we celebrate the victories as mates. It's
good for like the live streams and stuff in it as well, when you're talking to the fans. I guess that sort of friendship vibe.
We don't use the word fans.
Okay, right. This one, I'm trying to think back to the answers. Only one person has answered yes to this yet, but I'm gonna be disappointed almost if you don't answer yes to this. Have you ever been recognised outside of FPL? You know, you walking down the street or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, many times at this point, or
like I don't know, a dozen or so times. Yeah.
Any interesting interactions, or is it just I love your content, mate? Or
I'm only positive. I think.
That's good.
Yeah. The weird, to be fair, I don't get out very, very often, if I'm totally honest. I'm usually just in this room making videos pretty much the whole time. So I don't really get out often enough to get recognised.
Am I right in saying that?
I'm married, no kids.
Married, no kids. But you're a busy man, I guess, with doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But no, the most interesting ones, I only live in a little village. And the first time getting recognised in a small village by a fellow resident of that village was quite surreal.
Yeah.
Because, they're like, "But what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I live here."
What are you doing here? Like, invasion of the FPL content creators or something?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So, yeah, we're going to move on now a bit to talk about FPL and mental health, which is a bit of a focus of the channel. If anyone's not watched any of my videos to this point, the main thing that's got me into FPL beyond being a player is doing some research on FPL and mental health. And there's a couple of videos on my channel where I discuss FPL and mental health, whether or not it's good for our mental health to listen to deadline streams. Sorry, Dan, I know you're not meaning to affect your income here at all. But with the generally FPL and mental health. So before we actually talk about your experiences with FPL and mental health, Dan, I know you said to me before we started recording that you do some charity work on mental health. I was wondering if you could just talk about that a bit.
Well, certainly on the publicly as FPL Mate, I'm happy to talk about that stuff.
Yes, please do.
We on the FPL Mate channel every year on my birthday, we'll do a birthday charity stream, which is quite nice. Like, instead of giving me a present, donate to charity. Works quite well as a hook.
What charity, like Mind or something like that?
Mind is the one I've done the last couple of years, yeah. And I'll be doing the same again this year. So if anyone's around on the 28th of December, so not too far from now, join me over on FPL Mate channel. We'll be doing a live stream trying to raise some money. We usually do, 500 to £1,000 each year, which is really good. Part of a couple of charity FPL leagues as well. Again,
what are they?
Well, the biggest one is I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sleeper.
I've heard some people talk about it, but I've not played it.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
So it's primarily draft fantasy. So they've got a Premier League draft game on there.
Is that the big company that they're really big in America and now they're coming over and
that's right.
Trying to get in the FPL space, I guess. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So I'm in a big draft league with a few other FPL content creators, and there's like I think a few £1,000s to charity for the winner of their choice, and we're doing Mind charity for that as well.
And Sleeper put that up, have they?
They have, yeah.
Oh, right. That's brilliant.
So I was straight away in that. Yeah, let's get involved, and I'm winning at the moment as well, which is good. So hopefully a few more pennies to help out some mental health charities, which would mean a lot to me.
So please add that to your diaries. I will add it to mine. Although I've got to be honest, I'm pretty brassic by the end of the Christmas period. So.
Hey, it's 2 days after Boxing Day, so you do have a couple of days to recover.
Yeah, I'll go out and do a bit of busking and try and get a bit of money together.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, awesome. So just in terms of yourself and your experiences of FPL and mental health, maybe first of all, just thinking back to before you became a content creator, has FPL ever had an effect on your mood, just as a player, and then secondly as a content creator? And is there any? Shouldn't be overloading you with questions here, but obviously, is there any difference between the two, if that makes sense? Does it affect you more as a content creator or anything like that?
Honestly, it's a difficult question to answer because I didn't really start taking FPL too seriously until I had already become a content creator.
Okay.
So prior to that,
hand in hand then.
yeah. So prior to that, if I did poorly in FPL, it's like whatever. It's just a game.
You didn't care,
But of course now it's not a game. It's far more than a game when you're taking FPL seriously. And
so if
yeah,
if you do bad, I'm sure you've had a bad season at some point. As all mine's this season. I'll tell you about it in a while, maybe. Does it piss you off more because of a pride perspective, or because you think people are going to look on my channel and see that I've had a shit week? If that makes sense.
Honestly, like the YouTube aspect of things is everything. Like,
it's money, isn't it, for you?
I think if I wasn't making videos, I hope that FPL doing good or bad wouldn't affect me too much, because certainly on social media or in videos, if a player does badly that I own, I'll just make a joke. I'll laugh about it. I'll, make a meme and post it. But because I'm an FPL content creator, people will reply to these memes and reply to these jokes and say, I don't know what you're laughing about. You're terrible at FPL. And it's like, oh, come on, it's just a game. Let's try and have some fun here.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what affects me. If I do badly in FPL, I know I'm going to get people on my back about it. I know that some people might leave my YouTube channel and, then I can't do this as a job anymore. And I love doing this as a job.
But imagining someone who's just started, obviously that may affect them. But I guess you'd hope that now you're sort of established, you'd have to have quite a few shitty seasons for people to really have a mass exodus, at least. I'm sure you'd lose some people, so. But you'd hope so.
Yeah.
No,
definitely. I feel fairly secure by this point, but yeah, you're right. It is when you're starting off, you kind of catastrophize these things a little bit more. But now it's kind of like, I think, with FPL content, I think the way you present information and the way you speak and engage with people and videos, like, let's be honest, it's about entertainment just as it is as about information. You don't need to be good at FPL to entertain people. You don't need to be good at FPL to present information. So your rank is important, but it's one of many things that make a good FPL content creator. And it takes you a little while to realize that. And then once you do, it feels a bit better when you don't get the game week that you wanted.
Just apologies. I'm not sure if you can hear it, Dan. There are loads of fire. We're recording this on bonfire night. There's loads of fireworks going off, and it's upsetting my dog who's barking downstairs.
Oh.
So hopefully you're not picking it up. I apologise if you are. I think this would be a good time to talk about it. So you once had the season where you were like really high. I'm not sure. Were you in the top 100 for some?
Yeah, well, I mean, the highest rank I was during that season.
When I started watching you, was about this.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think for a lot of people, particularly for those who, rank is very important. And for some people, rank is important. For some people, other things are important. And that's why, there's a content creator out there for everyone, because you're going to have different priorities of what you want when you're consuming FPL content. But yeah, a few people took notice, reached as high as 12th at one point, which is
wow. I didn't know it was
craziness. Yeah. But did finish 243rd in that season, which was
you still had a good finish then.
Yeah, which was probably my third season of making content, of taking things quite seriously. But I mean, it's luck. To get that high is luck.
Yeah, I got up to 3,000 last year, but I was never like that was like my highest finish of the entire season. I was, it was grinding to get to that point. I'd never run away sort of thing. But how did you find? Because I remember when you listened to it, I remember you. Strange memory. I've got a memory of listening to one of your podcasts when I was walking around Sainsbury's just before I went to work, where you said you wouldn't be releasing your team because you were worried people were copying you.
Got a lot of flack for that, actually.
Did you?
A lot, yeah.
Why was that?
Well, a lot of people were very upset because they wanted to copy my team, clearly.
Did that get into your mind a bit, from a perspective?
Well, that was mostly because I'd actually received quite a few messages from people saying, I've got a big problem in my mini league that someone is just copying your moves every week,
Really?
and it's spoiling our league. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's pretty crap.
Presumably they weren't all 250 in the world as well, though. They must have started copying you.
Some were.
Really?
Yeah. Some were very, very close to my rank. You know, the only difference being is that they might have been 0.1 million short for a player so they'd gone for a different 4 million defender or something like that.
So basically, the top
like these were the
1,000
minor differences.
The top 1,000 in the world, half of them were basically FPL Mate clones.
In the top 100 at one point, it was something like 20.
Really? I would say that's a joke.
In the top 100,
is that high?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is, I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It kind of feels against the spirit of FPL.
So it's not so much it got, some mental health perspective. It was more like ethical.
I think so, yeah. Although I have kind of cooled on that a little bit. But I think at the time it was like there was a lot of people. There was a big hullabaloo about, FPL content creators are spoiling FPL because we've just got these swaths of people just copying verbatim content creators' teams and ruining mini leagues. When FPL really, it should be about making your own decisions and going with your own opinions.
I actually get pissed off if it ends up that it's like, if it's one of the content creators I follow that I've got an identical team to them in 5 weeks, because I actually think they're copying me, which obviously is impossible, you know what I mean? But if I've got the same team, because I don't want to feel like it's because I'm, because obviously they're going to be having you guys are going to be having some influence because I'm listening to you, do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I want to own it myself.
But also, good FPL managers will often come to the same conclusions, won't they?
Yeah, definitely. And content creators as well. I think a lot of content creators' teams are also often not that far away from the template, are they?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's another thing. And that I think maybe is a mental health issue, in that it's much easier as a content creator to just go super safe, super template, no risks. Because then if something goes wrong, you can say, well, everyone else did the same. We're all in the same boat together, rather than being that odd one out who made a silly mistake with a silly transfer.
Yeah. Have you ever had a season you've done like, I mean, I know badly subjective, but I don't know, like maybe, for example, when I started this channel, I was 5 million in the world. I have managed to I had a brilliant game week. I've managed to claw it down. I'm in the top 2 million. But that sort of rank. Yeah,
I've never finished there. No, not since.
But sort of like during the season, have you ever been down at that sort of?
Oh yeah,
low rank.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, and this is another thing as well. Early on in the season, you get a lot of people who seem to think that the season's over already. And you're in a position now where would you say, just got into the top 2 million?
Yeah, it is the lowest I've ever been. I've always been like in the top 5.
You don't expect to end there, do you?
No, but I think that's because I've been playing for 10 years. I expect myself to be in the top couple of 100,000. My goal's always 100,000.
Yeah.
But I don't know though, because this season does feel different because of the pricing and stuff. I'm not sure that like the 10 years of experience that I've built up as a player. Usually, you just think the leaving it to the last minute to make transfers, keeping your eye on price rises, that sort of thing will see you through. But I just have a feeling. I mean, you could say to me, we've got to play it out, obviously, but it maybe doesn't apply so much this year.
I don't know. I think people are quite negative maybe about this one. I'll always recall a couple of seasons ago, I was game week 19, 20, I think I was ranked 2 million and finished 30,000th, which is not like anything crazy. But, there's so many game weeks left. So much can change. So it's not ideal to be in the millions right now, but it's far from a foregone conclusion. We've got plenty of time left to recover. I
do feel like I'm having a bit of an FPL therapy session here, mate.
Good stuff.
Yeah, well, that's FPL Mate. That's it's kind of, I've gone off the script, gone off my questions a bit there. What would you say from a mental health perspective? What would you say? I mean, I know you're saying if you weren't a content creator, it possibly wouldn't affect you so much, but we know that it does affect at least a significant minority of people. What would you say are the most Well, also there are good parts. The research we did also did show that people who are more engaged in more engaged in FPL from in listening to content, thinking about their teams, also get much bigger highs out of FPL as well as bigger lows. What do you think are the best and worst sort of aspects of playing from a mental health perspective?
I think certainly if you can try and, I guess, question your decisions rather than the outcomes, I think that's the first piece of advice to trying to navigate FPL and sort of recognizing that, sometimes you get bad luck and you can't do anything about it. It's out of your control. Maybe next time you'll get some good luck. But as long as you are making the right decisions, you should get more good luck than bad luck, more highs than lows. And I know it sounds so silly to say, but it is a game and it is meant to be fun. And if it's not fun anymore, then, it's not to say stop playing, but spend 10 minutes looking at your team rather than 10 hours. Could be a way to kind of step back potentially. I mean, you'll probably know more about this than me of how to.
I've got whole videos on it, so I'm not going to add what I think of this. But yeah, basically, to be honest with you, it's never affected my mental health terribly, but it did used to piss me off. The other thing the research showed is the longer you play, the less it affects you. I think because you just get used to. For a lot of people, you just get used to dealing with a bad game week, I guess.
Yeah.
I would just spend less time on it. I do this now anyway because I don't like spending too long on my team. I usually just spend an hour or two on Friday night. I will consume content all week, but I enjoy doing that. I'd probably do that even if I wasn't playing the game because I'm a nerd. But I don't worry too much about doing it. But yeah, I think stepping away is the main thing. And I would advise someone if it's really, really having a bad effect, I would stop playing at least for a season. I don't think.
Yeah. And people do that. People who have been very, very involved in the FPL world content creation sphere have taken years off to recoup, regather.
Do you know the thing that actually made me want to start? Well, it was a few reasons I wanted to start this channel. Was I read a comment about a guy, I can't remember if he was in India or America, who'd been getting up at 2 or 3 in the morning every week to watch a deadline stream and then would try and get back to bed. And I just thought, unless you've got a young kid, that cannot be healthy for you. I'm not expecting you to put people off because obviously you have a deadline stream. But do you know what I mean? It just doesn't seem... I guess if you're a young student who, you can get up at whatever time in the morning. But for most people, that doesn't seem to be like a healthy thing to be doing.
It is a lot. And if it is impacting, real life, then you do have to weigh up whether it is a net positive or negative thing on your life. But if you just really love FPL and that's something you enjoy doing and, you don't have any responsibilities the next day, why not?
Yeah. All right, this is the one a few people have had trouble answering this one, but I did send you the questions before. Hopefully maybe you've had a chance to think about it. Do you think there's anything that FPL itself could do? And I'm not just talking about FPL. There's other websites as well, like a fan team, whatever. Do you think there's anything they themselves could do to help the player base in terms of their mental health?
I think they already have started doing that. And I think a big thing that they did that did this was putting things like XG on their website.
Okay.
Because
you think that particularly helps mental health?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if you look at your player and you see, they haven't scored very well, but then you can have a look at their XG and say, they actually got quite a lot of XG.
That's true.
I think that's quite soothing in a way. So you could think, okay, I gave it a really good go. I was just unfortunate. And I have the evidence here that I was unfortunate.
See, I think you're definitely a glass half full guy because I would look at that and say, fucking hell, we should have scored. I don't know. But yeah, I get what you mean. So more information, I guess.
Yeah, and I think more transparency as well. Something I know impacts people is the price changes in FPL. I think if price changes were more transparent, I think that would lead to less frustration from a lot of people there as well. That's probably the best idea I can come up with.
Definitely.
for FPL to do.
Yeah, I've talked about this on a couple of the other interviews. The other thing that I know a lot of things FPL do is to drive, I mean, it's basically there to increase engagement with the Premier League, isn't it? But
Yeah.
the price change, lack of transparency, I don't see what benefit they gain from that at all. People going on looking at FPL Hub or FPL statistics at 1 a.m, that's not helping them. It's to me, it's just more likely to get managers to quit. So I have no idea why they don't change that.
I think it's so they can manually tweak things for balancing purposes for the game, so they can override certain things manually, which we have seen before. Dominic Solanke was the big example this season, where he was sold by he transferred to Spurs, but was still set at 7 million. Then he got injured soon after joining Spurs and saw millions of transfers out, and if he had dropped down to what you would expect, which would probably be about 6.6 million, maybe, that would potentially be a game-breaking price for the player. So I think they use these opportunities to tweak things.
They could be transparent about that, couldn't they, and still do it?
They could. Yeah. They could, but if things are complicated and nuanced, and rather than these are the set rules, then people can get a bit funny.
Yeah, they'd be saying, why are you changing the rules for this one player? Or
exactly. Yeah, and if they could just keep it behind the curtain, then they do have a lot more freedom to, do as they wish.
The Wizard of Oz, isn't it? The price was changed.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what you don't know won't hurt you unless you're a proper FPL nerd like us, and you see a random price change that wasn't on any of the websites because FPL have decided to tweak something.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really glad Gabriel didn't fall last week when he was injured, because I was sure he was going to fall, and he didn't. Any other thoughts generally on mental health and FPL, Dan?
I think I really, really like the idea of celebrating when you win and laughing when you lose. I really, really think that is the way to engage positively with FPL, and not everyone is able to do that. I do appreciate that, and not everyone likes that. Some people, think, I've had a bad game week. I'm within my right to be upset. I don't want to laugh about it because I don't think it's very funny, and that's fine. But I think trying to develop a more humorous relationship with FPL has certainly helped me, and I know it's helped a lot of other people as well. And I think it keeps the game back to where it was fundamentally when it was first created. And that is something where friends can play, have a laugh, have some fun, have some banter together, and move on.
Have you seen, you said to me earlier, you shared the FPL Juice, you shared that studio at their podcast. You know FPL Alf, because he works on...
Yeah.
He's basically making streams every night this week, which is basically... I wouldn't call it a comedy show, but it's like showing all the memes and stuff, isn't it? Like, that's like how...
Yeah.
You can engage in it in that way, can't you? Like...
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many funny people in the FPL space as well. And, they'll make a joke about a player that you own, and sometimes it'll piss you off. But other times, maybe it'll bring a smile to your face in a down situation, which is, I think, an underrated skill that a lot of people seem to have in the FPL world. And I think we should be quite grateful that we do have these kind of people around.
Great. Yeah. Great advice and thoughts, Dan. So maybe we can just finish by just having a quick chat about this season. You can tell me what transfers to make this week.
I'm not sure I'm the person to listen to on that, to be honest.
How's your season going so far?
I mean, fine. A little bit of a red arrow this week, so I've dropped outside the top million, which is not ideal. But, I mean, it's fine. I like my team. Still have my wild card. Still, I think, on track to finish well. Still very early. Not too worried.
Are you someone who plans when you're going to use it, the wild card, or just when it seems right?
I'll look ahead at potential wild card weeks, and then we'll see what a few weeks before that we'll kind of see where we're at. Like game week 12, I was looking to wild card potentially, but then there was the Saka injury a couple of weeks ago. So then I bought in Palmer for Saka, and it was like Palmer would have been a player I would probably picked for the wild card. Then Robertson with the rotation risk last week, I thought, okay, I'll drop him to Ait Nouri. And again, that's another player I probably would have had in the game week 12 wild card. So I think plan a week to potentially wild card, but you may up getting a lot of players that you want for that wild card anyway, in which case the wild card might become a little bit redundant. So right now, I have no idea when to use it. I mean, I don't know if you've had a look at any potential weeks in the future for wildcard users.
It's the first season I ever actually did. I always usually try and have an open mind about it, but there were so many people talking about week 6, and because I'd had a shit start to the season as well, I just hit it in week 6, and it didn't really help at all. Like I had a bit of a bounce back, like I said, this week, but because I had Solanke and Davis. Fernandez has been in my team all season.
No, crikey. Been watching too much Let's Talk FPL by the sounds of things.
Yeah. But no, actually, I have. That's the sort of thing where it's like, it feels like, he's copying my team rather than around. But,
he is. I'm sure he is.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got some sort of secret spy in there. But yeah, so I'm not too sure. I think a lot of people are saying game week 12, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, that's the one I was looking at, but I don't think I will anymore.
So, I always like having it. Like, I feel more secure when I have it.
Definitely. And it allows you to play FPL in a slightly braver way, I think, as well. Because, I've always got the wild card to fall back on if something goes wrong. And something will go wrong. It always does. It's FPL, for God's sake.
Have you got Haaland in at the minute, or?
I do, yeah. Which I think has been contributing towards the red arrow this week.
Are you thinking of getting rid of this week, or?
I don't think so. It's a controversial one, isn't it? And people seem to feel very strongly about it.
I sold him last week, which was the first time since he's come to the Premier League. He's not been in my team, apart from when he was injured, obviously, last season. It was...
Blimey.
But it actually didn't... I was thinking I was going to have, separation issues when I transferred him out. I mean, obviously, it helps that he blanked and Salah I bought in as the other part of the move helped, but...
yeah. But definitely. There's merit to selling Haaland, particularly if it allows you to improve another area of your team. But he's not a must-sell for me. I'm not going to sell him.
He's going to come back, isn't he? He's going to come back.
Yeah, of course he is. He's getting all the chances in the world. De Bruyne is going to come back. We've got who's next? Brighton up next. They concede shed loads of goals, home or away. Spurs after that. They haven't even got any centre backs fit. So Salah is obviously the better choice for the next couple of weeks, but I don't think there's that much in it.
No, I think it's so I can get Palmer and Saka in. I mean, I already had Palmer.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I am being influenced here because this is kind of the... it's like every week there's kind of an ideal team that floats around the community, isn't there? And I think I'm getting... But when it actually seems to be working, I'm quite happy to follow that general theme that's going down the community, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you say that, but I don't think Solanke or Fernandez would have been in the ideal team last week. And, the faith and the patience you had with those players.
And I had bloody Eze. I only sold him last week because he got in.
Oh, yeah. He was another game week 1 pick for me. Eze. Had to get rid of him a few weeks ago myself. So feel the pain there.
One of the things I do probably pay too much attention to is the review and the hub and the scout. Rate my teams. I never used to use them, and I've had my best 2 finishes the last 2 years. I was about 11k and 3k, largely from not following them, but referring to them. Excuse me, whenever I was going to make a transfer. And this year, I mean, I can't knock them. They've been... I wouldn't say they purely got me those ranks, but they were a large influence on it. But this year, they really have not been as accurate, shall I say. Especially with players like Eze and Fernandez.
Definitely. But I think that's because so many players are not performing at the levels that their data suggests. Taking a million shots, creating a million chances, but none of them are being converted, which is a short-term issue, you would hope. Over the course of the season, everything should balance out roughly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Man United get on with that new... I can't pronounce his name. Amora or something, is it? Is that the new...
Amorim,
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you reckon Arsenal win the title?
No.
City
No.
are doing a good job of trying to throw it away the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, but Liverpool are doing very, very well and don't seem to be stopping.
Yeah.
So that's the big issue there. Yeah, if you asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have said, yeah, Arsenal for the title. But I think the last few weeks have been a bit of a reality check for many Arsenal fans, unfortunately.
Arsenal were always a team I hated growing up. Don't ask me why. It's kind of like I have a soft spot for Man United. I'm a Newcastle fan.
Oh, okay.
I think it was because the treble and Newcastle were never in the Champions League, and then because they were my second team. But it's kind of got to the stage now. It's been so long. Like I'm desperate for them to win the title certainly over City, but probably over Liverpool as well. I've actually come around to being a bit of a fan.
But wow. A couple of years.
Sorry.
Why not? In the next couple of years. Why not?
But they were saying that a couple of years ago.
True.
So Dan, I just have one more question. Before I let you go, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just in a general, not like with this season in mind or anything in particular, like who to captain this game week. Is there any advice, general tips you could give players watching in terms of how to be good at FPL in terms of rank? Nothing to do with mental health.
Okay. Yeah.
General tips.
All right. I've got I don't know. This is like not an advanced tip, but it's like, kind of taking FPL to the slightly next level tip.
I like it.
Is to use data. So use data, but apply context to it.
Okay.
So, for example, if you see a player like Son is getting 1 XG per game, for example, he's probably going to score 2 goals because of the quality of the player and the quality of the finisher he is. And someone like Calvert-Lewin, no offense to anyone who's bought in Calvert-Lewin, but 1 XG for Calvert-Lewin is not as worth as much to him as it is to, maybe a different player. So stats are very important, I would say, and use them.
Are you more stats or eye test? That's what they always say, isn't it?
Stats with context. Yeah, stats with context.
The context is the eye test, I guess, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So it's a difficult question to answer. Yeah. But yeah, no, if you know who's a good finisher, who is historically matched their stats or beaten their stats or underperformed on their stats, then it's much easier to pick out when stats are useful and when stats are actually a bit of the wool over your eyes, I suppose.
Any other tips?
Always captain Haaland or Salah. There you go.
Except the last 5 game weeks of Haaland, I guess.
Yeah, but you captain Salah instead.
Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, it's thank you so much for inviting me and reaching out. It's been an absolute pleasure, and certainly what you're doing here, trying to promote healthy mental space within FPL, I think is nothing short of positive. So, no, I really do applaud you for what you're doing here. I think it's really, really important and much needed. So, thank you for joining the community and spreading some positivity, because I think that's awesome.
I have to say as well, the community is absolutely amazing. Like, I just made a couple of videos, and all of a sudden, people I'm reaching out to people now to ask them. But there were people reaching out and saying hello to me before I'd even had a Twitter account or anything. It's just a great community, isn't it?
It really is, and I've made a good few friends from it, and yeah, I'm sure you will as well, and I'm sure anyone else watching who is engaging positively with the community will find themselves with plenty of new friends before long as well.
No, if you engage positively.
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you, Dan. So I'm hoping to have at least one more interview. I won't give away with who, but a very exciting person later in the week. So please like and subscribe to keep up to date with the series. Thanks so much again, Dan.
No problem. Thank you for having me. And everyone subscribe to FPL Have a Beer.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. And I'll see you in the next one.